Hello, I'm Melissa Dinwiddie, and welcome to Exergy TV, where we investigate topics surrounding sustainability in the Bay Area and beyond. In today's show, we will dig into the world of disposables, specifically single-use utensils. As gas prices rise and our oceans fill with plastic, what else can we turn to? What other options are available? And are those options really a better alternative to petroleum-based plastics? To help us dive deeper into these questions and more, please welcome the director for the California ReThink Disposable program and Bay Area native, Julie Wedge. Welcome, Julie.
Thank you so much, Melissa. It's great to be here.
It's so great to have you. So tell me about the California ReThink Disposable program. What is your mission? And tell me a little bit about it.
Well, our mission at ReThink Disposable is to stop trash before it starts. In 2009, we did a waste assessment study around the Bay Area, and we found that close to 73% of the waste in the Bay and around the Bay was actually single-use disposable foodware.
Wow.
And so ReThink Disposable was born out of this need to start talking to restaurants about their single-use disposables, or as we love to call them, our suds. And so we have been working for several years now on converting with cities and counties like Mountain View on converting restaurants from their single-use disposables for dine-in to reusables. And currently, we are over 500 restaurants in the Bay Area that have made the conversion. And we are now dipping into the compostable world for takeout. So it's interesting when your mission is to stop trash before it starts, to be talking about compostables as an option. But we are seeing that consumer behavior changes are what are necessary. So where we can convert to reusables for dine-in, we are also partnering with some other folks that can do reusable takeout, but we're looking at compostables sort of being that next step to getting rid of the really harmful forever chemicals and plastics like PFAS and styrofoam, moving into the compostable world. So that's what we do. We've done some historic venues like the Fillmore in San Francisco. Like I said, over 500 restaurants around the Bay Area, and we're starting to see an impact. So we're feeling pretty good about our work.
That's fantastic. What is your sense of how many restaurants are already using alternatives to single-use plastics and cups and containers?
So we saw a really large increase in the use of single-use disposables during the pandemic. People were feeling very much like that was a more sanitary way of dealing with things. And now that we are on the other side of I'm not going to say that the pandemic is over or that COVID is gone, but I'm certainly going to say that we've gone to more of a dine-in experience again. And it's been really kind of interesting to see the switch back for dine-in to reusables. It really has changed the customer experience. We see that people are, more interested in having reusables, less concern about sanitation and sanitary and, things like that issues. Feeling, good about the fact that a dishwasher is actually a dishwasher. And it will sanitize the dishes for them. And it really is, and it does, it changes the dining experience in the restaurant. So for those restaurants that, have made the switch back to dine-in reusables, it's been a really positive thing. It is a money saver for the businesses. They see, we find that they realize in our case studies anywhere between $4,000 a year all the way up to, we have one very large organization on the East Coast that is saving $1 million a year by not buying plastics. And that's just the cost savings to the restaurant. It's not the this obviously the savings in plasticware and single-use disposables in our waste stream. So it's pretty exciting, and it is, when we can get to these businesses owners and really talk to them about, making this switch, it isn't just an environmental switch, it's also makes good business sense.
Yeah, well, that I can imagine is a really good selling point.
I mean, we would like to say that everybody is doing this because it's the right thing to do, but the reality is that these restaurants are businesses and they operate on very small margins. And so
Yeah,
any changes that you can make that are positive for their bottom line is also good.
absolutely. Yeah. Now, I'm thinking about all of the utensils and the cups and the things that I see that have that compostable mark on them. What do you know about these alternatives compared to the petroleum-based plastics that we're all used to? Are they actually any better? What is your
I mean,
understanding?
yes. Let's just go ahead. The short answer is yes. It is always better to get a fiber-based compostable takeout item than it is to get a plastic-based item, right? Like we know this. The EPA just recently set a standard for drinking water at 40 parts per billion of PFAS in these forever chemicals. Um, so I mean, we know that plastic and petroleum based products are not where we're going to continue to be moving in the direction that we're going to continue to be moving in. At Rethink Disposable, obviously we want to stop trash before it starts, want to stop waste before it starts. And so compostable for us is what we see as a good consumer behavior change step coming out of the takeout world. Right now, we still see places that are using styrofoam.
Mhm.
So is compostable better than styrofoam? 100% better than styrofoam. 100% better than the heavy plastics that get into our waste stream. Are we ready as consumers to go as far as some European countries and actually have, glass and stainless steel takeout items? Are we willing to bring our own items in anymore? I don't know. So, in order to make an immediate impact and an immediate change, yeah, we are recommending compostable takeout instead of plastics or styrofoam.
Yeah, yeah. Can you give us a sense of what the various different alternatives are made of, and in the case of those ones with the compostable stamp on them, what kinds of chemicals are being used in those cases? I mean, obviously there's some compostables that are made of paper or wood or bamboo, but there are others that, as you said, are made of um, you know, other, corn or whatever.
Yeah, they have different linings, right?
Yeah.
And there are, it is. So we're seeing in this particular instance that legislation is driving industry. There's more and more cities and counties that are putting in ordinances in place for around compostable materials and around banning plastics without really banning plastics. Um, and so the industry is kind of playing catch up, right? We're seeing a lot more fiber-based things that are super useful and actually are fiber-based. They don't have any PLA linings. There's none of that. And that's ultimately what we'd like to get to. The reality is there are restaurants that have hot foods, hot drinks, and the industry at the moment doesn't necessarily have a completely 100% fiber-based option to deal with those types of foods. Now,
Mhm.
there's a myriad of other foods that you get in restaurants that don't require that particularly, specialty, as they call it in the industry, portion cups. Um, and the industry is working and has done a really good job of getting compostable PLA versions of things so that it will completely break down, and and compostable is still the way to go. But the compostable industry, like any other industry, as we're moving to this kind of economy, has a little bit of catch up to do. And so we're seeing a lot more options, a lot more products than what we were seeing a year, 2 years ago. And I know that we'll see even more with SB 54 as we, move forward with that piece of legislation that is requiring for plastics and PLA and, for fiber-based things to suddenly, be the way. So we are seeing industry sort of play catch up. But in the meantime, what we're focused on is that customer behavior change, the getting used to not having what you normally have, the getting used to that this is okay. And hopefully down the road, within a few years, we can get people to a place where, hey, I brought my own mason jar, or I mean, I'm one of those nerdy people that I actually do bring my own takeout containers, because I know that if I dine in, even if I'm dining in and it's a great and they've got the ceramics and the stainless steel forks, and even if they're completely reusable for their dine-in, if I'm going to take any of my food to go, then generally my dining experience changes,
Right.
right? And they bring me the takeout and it's like,
Right.
oh, now I can't. So I just started bringing my own takeout stuff. um and I think that, we might get to a place. Okapi certainly is an organization that is helping people to get to that place. They have stainless steel coffee cups. I know that Mountain View has a few places that Okapi services, uh,
Mm,
and it's a reusable service where, you get a reusable stainless steel cup, and when you bring it back, you get a new one. So
mm.
but it is, it is going to take a little bit of time to get us to a place where we are used to returning a takeout container.
Yeah. So what do you see as sort of the methods for helping people get into that habit? I mean, you mentioned Okapi as one like organization or whatever that is facilitating that. What are some other things that are
We
happening?
So we've been working in partnership with organizations and companies like Our World and Turn, which are third-party reuse. Still great that we're doing third-party reuse. However, I do want to caution that those are plastic. They are still plastics, but they are carbon neutral because they can go through, 300 washes. So in our venue spaces, to partner with those types of takeout reusables, um, we even used Our Worlds came to the Mountain View Art and Wine Festival last year and did reusable cups for beer and wine, and
Mhm.
and a variety of other things. So if anybody was at the Mountain View Art and Wine Festival last year, they had the opportunity to sort of be introduced to this concept, and it's really great. You get your cup, there's bins, all around your event space. You return it. It's super easy, and you're not creating waste. You're not creating trash. So so like I said, this is a burgeoning industry. This is a thing that is, sort of starting to take hold now that legislation is coming about. Um Minnesota, our state director in Minnesota just passed the most comprehensive PFAS ban in the world, and in the place where PFAS was born with 3M. So and that's what the EPA has used to start setting drinking water standards. So like I said, this is something that people are concerned about. We know about it. We're paying attention. We see the plastics in the ocean and in our waste streams, and everywhere that we look. And so I mean, I think it's things that people are starting to become aware of, and as long as we're there providing the technical assistance to the on the ground, places, to restaurants and locations where you get food, I think that we will be able to start seeing a behavior change. I'm confident that people actually want to do this, and
Yeah.
I know that the restaurants, once they get that little bit of incentive to be converted, they stick with it because they do realize the cost savings at the end.
Yeah. The other thing I'm thinking about is just how people are really motivated and inspired by seeing the people that they know taking action. So, for example, going out to lunch with uh, Hala, and I see her carrying her, bringing her stainless steel fork from home and her, her coffee mug or whatever. And that inspires me to think about that, doing the same thing myself. And then if other people see me doing it, then that's going to inspire them to think about it, which they may never have thought about before. So it's, those it's the ripple effect, right?
Absolutely. Peer-to-peer is one of our best ways of getting people to change their behavior. If people see other people doing it, they go, "Oh, I didn't even realize I could do that." And a lot of times
Yeah.
people just don't realize they can. It's not that they wouldn't or they're opposed to it. They just don't realize that they can.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think ultimately most people would prefer to bring their own stuff in to take their takeout home. They know the cleanliness of their own homes and their own things. And so I don't think that it's an insurmountable problem. I just think that it's something that we have to continue to do. And I think that it's something that we have to continue to pressure industry to keep up.
Yes, absolutely. I just think about a restaurant that my husband and I used to patronize every single week until I just couldn't stand all the plastic. I sent them an
Well,
email about it, and I don't know if they've actually paid attention to it, but
well, let us know who that is, and we'll make sure that we go offer them some technical assistance so you can go
I
back to your
will.
restaurant.
I will do that offline. Yes, absolutely. Well, Julie, it has been so enlightening and really wonderful having you here. Thank you so much for joining us today. And up next, we will hear from local advocates about the plans that they intend to dispose to all of our local restaurants. So stay tuned.
Exergy TV is brought to you by Asian Box. At Asian Box, we're on a mission to create an exciting, fresh, made-to-order dining experience without compromise. We pride ourselves with being able to deliver Vietnamese street food-inspired recipes developed by Chef Grace Nguyen that are not only authentic and taste great, but are healthier, fresher, 100% gluten-free, and customizable to fit a healthier lifestyle. We are committed to sourcing local, fresh ingredients that are raised and grown naturally. Just like us, real food, fast.
Welcome back to Exergy TV. With me today is a member of the Compostable Alternatives team and former member of the Mountain View Sustainable Task Force, Hala Alshahwany. Did I pronounce that right?
Yes, you did.
Welcome, Hala.
Perfectly.
Oh, good. I'm so glad.
Yeah, yes.
Well, I wanted to ask you about the Compostable Alternatives team.
Yes.
Tell me a bit more about that and how that came about and what made you choose this topic.
Yes. So a few years ago, I've been living in Mountain View for a long time, but a few years ago, I joined the sustainability task force that the city has solicited the community helped so that they can reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And we toured the Smart Station. The Smart Station is where they sort all the waste for Mountain View. And in there, they showed us how the compostable, so-called compostable items, instead of actually being composted, they actually went to landfill.
Oh, wow.
And unfortunately, a lot of people buy these items thinking that they are doing the environment a great deed by not wasting. And unfortunately, that's not the case. Not only in Mountain View, but in many cities around us are unable to compost these items. So we wanted to find a solution to that. And that's how the project and the team came about to the Leadership Mountain View program.
Great. So how many people are on the team?
So there are 3 other people beside me, 4 of us now that are working on different ways and different solutions that we can do now and maybe educate, do outreach in the future for our colleagues and the food service providers in Mountain View. We hope to continue that even after the program is finished.
So tell me a little bit more about your ultimate mission.
Yes. So the ultimate mission was at the beginning, so we had a mission at the very beginning to actually see if our city is capable of actually composting these materials. I dug further into that and contacted Recology, the company that takes care of our waste, and they said, well, no, we cannot do that in Mountain View for 2 reasons. It takes a lot of space to do the composting process, and actually, even if you do the composting process, there are leftovers from that process that is still not compostable. And so there's still a portion of the byproduct that ends up in landfill. So it wasn't very effective and it wasn't viable economically. And the third thing that I found on my own from a research I did is that all of it comes from corn, and corn, as you know, well established, 99% of it is grown as genetically modified monocrop, which is not good for the environment. And so we actually shifted our mission from trying to find a process to compost the compostables into an alternative to the compostable materials. And so our mission became either do an outreach to do reusables or find the materials that truly compost in such as bamboo or wood or paper products that the food service providers can use instead of the so-called alternative materials.
Okay, so give us a really clear definition of reusables versus the true compostables. Like,
yes,
what does that look like?
So the reusables would be, you know, cups, ceramic cups, glass cups, anything really that is you can put it in a dishwasher, you know, sanitize it and reuse it again. And that's it can be any material that can withstand, you know, the reuse over and over and over. The truly compostable material ones would be either brown paper plates that can go directly into your compost bin, or the bamboo style utensils, or wood, or any really truly compostable material that can be used to make these products so that they can be composted with your yard waste and your, you know, yard clipping and that kind of thing. Those are really the only two that would be sustainable and environmentally friendly. The clear cups that say compostable, or the utensils that are made from corn, basically, that say compostable, unfortunately, those all end up in the landfill as garbage.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, first of all, that's so important for people to know. So I'm so glad you're here sharing that. Yep. How can people at home help your cause?
So people at home, if they can at all do without the plastic cups or the clear plastic compostable cups or the compostable utensils that we talked about, that would be great. If you can invest in, you know, cheaper ceramic or anything that can be washed and reused again, that would be great. If you really need to have something that's disposable, look for the labels. See if it's truly compostable. Is it going to be from paper or bamboo or wood? And usually the product will say that. If you look on the bottom of the product, hopefully it will indicate if it can be put in the compost bin. If people become conscious about that when they buy the product or when they replace it at home with something that is reusable, then they're really helping the environment to reduce waste and reduce the amount of landfill, you know, stuff that we send to the landfill.
Although it's a little bit challenging, isn't it? Because
yes.
Those utensils will say on the back compostable when in fact they aren't necessarily. Isn't that right?
That's correct. That's correct. And so you really need to look at the material that these items are made of. It does take a little bit of research. The city of Mountain View has some really good links on their website. If you just go to the city website, they do actually have information and flyers about what is compostable and what is not. And it will have a description and pictures of these products. So if you're not sure, you know, please check that out. Of course, it's accessible and free to everyone. We're trying to help the city to do this outreach. So a few of us in the team that I'm in actually will be going to food service providers, some cafeterias and restaurants, and we're going to try to give them educational material, working with other nonprofits that the city has hired to help them to do that. So if you're not sure, yes, please look at these informations that are available, and just make sure that you look at the labels and see what the materials of these contents are.
So that seems like the big takeaway is to really look for the materials and to see if it's paper or
Yes.
bamboo
Yes.
or wood.
Yes.
And otherwise,
Yeah.
it's really not
Yes.
compostable, even if it says it's compostable.
Exactly.
Wonderful.
Exactly. Yes.
Oh, thank you, Hala.
Yeah.
Thanks again to Julie and Hala for being here today. This show would not be possible without the crew. So special thanks to all of you. My name is Melissa Dinwiddie. Thanks again to all of you who watched today, and join us again for another episode of Exergy TV. Bye-bye.